Good morning.
Okay, Mike, you are live.
Thank you, Jeanette. I would like to call the Council Chicago Industrial Development Agency Board of Directors meeting to order. We are at two locations, BWV building at 201 West 3rd Street, Jamestown, New York, second floor boardroom. And the good looking group is at Fredonia Technology Incubator, 214 Central Avenue, Dunkirk, New York, in the second floor. They are electronically being live streamed on YouTube and Zoom. It's May 24th, 2022. It's 10:01 p.m. Roll call, please. Mike Metzger is here. Hans
Here.
Just let them in.
Stephen North,
Here.
Kevin Muldowney, here. Jay Churchill, Rhonda Johnson,
Here.
Gary Henry,
Here.
Brad Walters.
Here.
Let the record show there are 7 members present. We have quorum. I would like to accept a motion to approve the May 13th, 2022 minutes, which thanks to Jeanette, you have already received and reviewed. Kevin made the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
A motion made by Kevin, seconded by Rhonda. Any discussion, corrections, questions? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Let the record show motion carried unanimously. I would now like to, before we move to new business, I would like, we have one of our staff members receiving a very prestigious award. And I would like, for the record, for our executive director, Mark, to introduce them.
Yeah, so Rich tomorrow will be receiving the Lifetime Achievement Award at the New York State Economic Development Council meeting. He's very deserving, he's over deserving. About time he got that, and he's going to be among all of his peers, probably 300, 400, 500 people there. So, you know, I want to thank Nate and Rose and others that contributed to the nomination form, which was pretty thorough. And when you look at it, you're like, wow, you know, Rich has been involved in a lot. So we're really grateful to have Rich and for all he does, and can't wait till tomorrow night.
And I see you have a standing ovation.
Thank you, everyone. I appreciate it. A little overwhelmed by that, but thank you. Speech. That's it.
Kevin, could I ask you to move new business A? Well, let's have the, I apologize. I'll have new business A, introduced by Rosie and Millie.
And so before you today, we have the Barn Grove East and Barn Grove West projects owned by the City Board Solar LLC. We received tax lease pilot applications for a 9.35 megawatt AC solar farm split with 4.375 megawatt AC allocated to Barn Grove East and 4.95 megawatt AC allocated to Barn Grove West. The proposed project will be on Barnes Road in the town of Stockton, New York, over approximately 59.5 acres. We've spoken with the town supervisor, David Wilson, and he has expressed that the town is in favor of the projects, and they have agreed for us to move forward considering the tax lease type of application. The town has also had their public hearing, and the town board has approved the special use permit. The town has also completed seeker, which resulted in a type 1 action for the negative declaration. The applications you have before you today are pilot tax lease applications, each requesting a 25-year abatement on their property tax, sales tax abatement, and mortgage reporting tax abatement. project costs associated with these two projects. $7,669,207 allocated to east, $8,720,984 allocated to west, for a total project cost of $16,390,194. Today we have Matt Longman here with us today, who is a project manager with Seaport Solar. Matt, could you please provide an overview of your project, including plans for visual effects mitigation and commissioning of our work?
Of course. Well, you described it well, as you described it. There are two separate projects. They're going to be right next to one another, and it's really one large project. I think you guys have the site plan images, or you can see the overall layout. It's just that because of interconnection with the utility, we have to separate it into two projects as far as the utility is concerned, but it's really just that one large, just about 9 megawatt project. Most of the site is, because of how it's sited naturally, is not visible from any of the abutters or from the roads. There is a small portion, I understand, in the southwest part of the array that is visible. I think it's about 120 feet of the array that's visible from the road. And the town and the abutters agreed that they wanted, or agreed on the, mitigation for that portion, and it's included in the plan. So it's only that small portion on the southwest side, I understand, that is going to require any kind of screening. And as I understand, I think that what they agreed was 3 rows of pine that'll be planted right in front there. And as far as I know, that's all the screening that will be involved for the project, and the rest can't really be seen from any of the roads or by the abutters. Other than that, I'm not sure what more to explain, or if you have any specific questions that you might want me to answer, I'd be happy to hear.
Matthew, can you speak to the decommissioning portion of the plan?
So as far as the municipal approval process goes, the decommissioning plan, as I understand, is the last thing that hasn't been finalized, although I think that the town and the project manager for this project have basically come to an agreement. I think they're hammering out just the last details. What I understand is that Wendell Engineering was the peer review architects and engineers for the town that reviewed our site plan. They came up with a figure for each of these projects, and as I understand, they're just hammering out the last details of it now, but it is after a 25-year lifespan of the system, each system, east and west, is going to have a bonded $270,000 decommissioning plan. What I understand is that there some portion of the decommissioning plan are set out for each particular contingency that Wendell Engineering proposed. I'm not sure that I would be the best person to explain what they are specifically, although I do have the decommissioning plan and can share that with you, with the board, if you would like. But as I understand it, the thrust of it is that it is $270,000 per system as a bond over the 25-year lifespan of the system.
Hey, Matt, this is Rich Dixon. I have a question. What I know you have to look into a crystal ball for this, but what are your feelings on recycling of these panels in 25 years? I would imagine there's going to be a lot of them. Will there be a market? Are there valuable minerals and metals in these panels, or what do you see the future of recycling? What will it look like for these solar panels?
Well, to be honest, I mean, I actually can't answer that question with any confidence, really. I'm not, an engineer, but I think of it just the way that you described. I imagine there are valuable minerals in the panels themselves, and what I understood that Wendell Engineering considered that aspect when coming up with the figure for these two systems for the decommissioning plan. But I honestly don't know anything about the logistics of how that is ostensibly to be handled, or how any recycling would be managed. What I do know is that these systems can often last longer than the 25-year stipulated lifespan, we have to replace the system's inverters after about 10 or 15 years. I think for this system, we're expecting to replace the inverters after 15 years. So I think theoretically after about 30 years, we would have to replace the inverters again, and it might not be worthwhile based on the amount of energy that the panels will be producing at that point. But just as far as the 25-year expected lifespan and the 25-year decommissioning plan goes, the system might still even be producing after that 25 years, at which point we wouldn't, or the system owner at that point would not decommission the plant immediately, would continue to be generating energy. Although at year 30, ostensibly, where the second replaced inverters would have to be replaced again, at that point, it seems likely that the system would be decommissioned fully. And honestly, I don't know how they would manage recycling the panels. I hope they would, because I know that the minerals used to make the panels are valuable. But honestly, based on how they deteriorate and how much less able they are to continue producing energy, I don't know how they would continue to reuse them.
Thank you.
And what are the advantages of having two solar arrays adjacent to each other?
I mean, like I was saying before, the only reason that they're divided into two is because that's what we have to do for the interconnection. They have to be smaller than 5 megawatts to interconnect into the utilities lines there. Although otherwise, just speaking practically, putting a large system like that in one spot next to each other rather than distributing it around, say on like rooftops, means that we can bring a lot more resources to bear to actually construct and operate the facility. So it'll just be that much simpler, and we can produce that much more energy with a concentrated system like that right in one place as opposed to distributed. If that makes sense.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I can add to that, while they will be separate projects for IDA purposes and two sets of documents, I will check with my secret guys, but since they came in together and are likely to rise and fall together, from a secret perspective, they are likely to be combined, so we don't run an issue of segmentation of dividing it up. But for IDA purposes, other than secret, they will be two separate projects as Matt described.
Right, yeah, and we did go through the secret process, and I think it was all one project as far as secret was concerned. There weren't two separate secret processes.
Good. Matt, would you like to please describe the resolutions that we're going to be voting on? No.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll take that. This is a due diligence only resolution. This is the first step in your process. And if authorized and directed to do so, staff and council will start the due diligence process, including looking at SECRA, holding a public hearing, holding a deviation, and generally doing the due diligence, possibly including looking at the decommissioning plan. And after the public hearing and SECRA signed off, then we would come back forward for a final approval once all the questions and all the issues have been resolved to staff and council's satisfaction. Then we come back to the board. So this is just the first step. It's a due diligence only resolution, just authorizing us to go forward with that process.
Thank you. Any other questions for Matt or Rosie or Milton? Hearing none, I'll ask Kevin if you could please move new business A2.
Resolution 524-22-01, due diligence resolution in the agreement with Barnes Road East.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made by Kevin, seconded by, I believe that was
Gary.
Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please. Mike Metzger votes aye. Hans Howard,
Aye.
Stephen Thorpe,
Aye.
Kevin Muldowney.
Aye.
Rhonda Johnson,
Aye.
Gary Henry,
Aye.
Brad Walters.
Aye.
Let the motion show that 7 votes in the affirmative, motion carried unanimously. Gary, if you could please move new business A3.
Resolution 05-24-22-02, due diligence resolution and agreement for Barnes Road West.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made by Gary, seconded by Brad. Any further discussion?
It was
Steve.
That was Steve.
That was Steve, yeah.
I'm sorry.
Steve Thorpe, I seconded the rest.
Oh, correction, seconded by Steve. Roll call, please. Mike Metzger, aye. Hans Howard,
Aye.
Stephen Thorpe,
Aye.
Kevin Muldowney, Rhonda Johnson,
Aye.
Gary Henry,
Aye.
Brad Walters.
Aye.
Let the record show, 7 votes in the affirmative, motion carried.
Thank you for joining us. You're welcome to stay on if you'd like, but if your schedule doesn't allow it, you can disconnect.
It's pretty exciting, man.
I'm excited too. Well, thank you for hearing me. And I hope that I answered your questions appropriately.
Well, thank you and good luck in your project.
Thank you.
And thank you for thinking of Chautauqua County. Okay, let's move to new business B. And again, it's Rosie and Ellen, please.
So we have Adam and Nate Rizzo here with us today, but we have Solar Liberty Portland Community, Bay Street and Route 20 projects owned by Solar Liberty. We received a tax title application for a total of 7.52 megawatt AC solar farm split between Bay Street and Route 20, with 3.6 megawatt AC allocated to Bay Street, 3.92 allocated to Route 20. The proposed projects will be in the town of Portland to be located on Route 20 and 8682 Bay Street in Portland, New York, over approximately 33.6 acres. We've spoken with town supervisor Richard Lewis, and he has expressed that the town is in favor of these projects and agreed for us to move forward with considering tax lease title applications. The town has also had their public hearing and projects have gone through the town's planning board and the town board, which is actually perfect. The town has also completed SECRA, which resulted in a type 1 action with a negative declaration. The applications you have before you today are pilot tax lease applications requesting a 25-year abatement of real property tax, sales tax abatement, and mortgage reporting tax abatement. Project costs are split, $7,002,274 allocated to Route 20, $5,426,763 allocated to Bay Street, a total project cost of $12,429,038. As I said before, we have Adam and Nate Rizzo here with us today from Solar Liberty. Adam and Nate, would you like to provide an overview of your projects, including your plans for visual mitigation and decommissioning with our work?
Thank you very much for that introduction. So I'm Nathan Rizzo with Solar Liberty. We worked with the town of Portland for approximately 2 years to develop a solar system, to develop 2 solar systems that both met their zoning requirements, but also worked nicely with their desire to not have systems located in Shenango gravelly loam soil, which is prime soil for growing grapes. The 2 systems, from a visual standpoint, we put together visual assessments for the 2 projects. The system that's located on Route 20 will have very little visual impact on both the town and views from Route 20 because of the existing vegetative grapes and just the existing vegetation. and also the topography. Phase Street, again, pretty much the same case, the existing vegetation, whether it be grapes or trees or shrubs, really has limited impact on any of the bordering neighbors. What we've worked with the town, in part of, the special use permit is we've left the visual screening, open for a year after completion of the project. So what that means is after a year of the system being installed, we can evaluate the system with the town of Portland and see if there's any areas that they would like screened, and we will do so. So it's a little bit more unique. We're looking to really get feedback from the town after the system's been installed and they have a chance to really evaluate the system. From a rendering perspective, we really didn't see any points that could be seen, but I think that's a good mitigation process from the town's perspective. From a decommissioning bond, we put together a cost estimate for removal of the system in year one, and then we escalated at 2% over the course of 25, 30, and 35 years. Our estimated cost of removal at year 25 is $262,000, and at year 35 is $319,000. And we've been working with the town to finalize that bond. The system itself also, I would like to mention, is that it's a fixed tilt system. So maybe some developers propose tracking, which utilizes much more ground space. Our systems will be at a fixed tilt at approximately 20 degrees, and will follow the contours and topography of the land.
This, both are yielding the same output. Why is one more expensive than the other?
One system slightly larger from a DC capacity, so it's a slightly larger system, hence the higher cost and higher production.
Thank you.
Yes.
Are there any additional questions for Adam and Nathan?
Yeah, this is Rich again, Rosie. I was just wondering if Adam or Nate had a little better idea about the recycling of these panels.
Yeah, Rich, I do. And first and foremost, congratulations on your upcoming award. That's very exciting and well deserved.
Thank you, Rich. Thank you.
So, we have been seeing an uptick in requests to our company for, there's a couple solar panel not manufacturers, but recycling companies that have come about that they're asking to buy solar panels from us, either used solar panels or maybe solar panels that have a little bit lower wattage because they're older. So that's fairly new, and a lot of them are being sold into newer markets, developing world markets like Africa and other countries where they're fine with accepting a slightly used solar module because they're still producing electricity. So we've actually seen an uptick in those requests from outside parties. We also think there's quite a bit of, as the other gentleman mentioned, that there is valuable commodities in those solar panels, like their aluminum and recycling the silicon, those types of things. So we believe that by the time that our solar systems are coming at time to decommission them, that they will definitely have a high value of what those solar panels will be worth. We also are fortunate, we have a nonprofit entity called Solar Liberty Foundation. There's been a couple times where the customers, for some reason or another, wanted the solar panels removed because maybe they were selling the building or for some reason, but we've been able to repurpose those on some of our Solar Liberty Foundation projects and actually use them in Haiti or things of that nature. So there is, if they're still producing electricity, they definitely still have a value. If they're being recycled, they will have a value with the raw materials there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Solar Liberty has done many great projects in the county, and we appreciate you for that. Ellen, would you like to describe the resolutions, please?
Happy to. Again, there are two due diligence resolutions. For secret purposes, we will treat them together, but for IDA purposes, in terms of documents, we will take them separately. This is due diligence only, authorizing staff and council to do the due diligence. Public hearing, secra, negotiate a pilot, deviation notice, etc. And we will do all of that, assemble all that information, make sure it's acceptable to at least staff and council, and all their questions are addressed, including a decommissioning plan, before we come back to the board, either at next month's meeting or the meeting after, presumably. So this is due diligence, much like the last one that we just did, and others that you've done before.
Thank you, Nolan. Any questions of Rosie, Nolan, Nathan, or Adam? I would accept, let's see, if we could please have Hans, if you could please move new business B2.
Resolution 5/24/2203, due diligence resolution and agreement for SL Portland Community Phase 3.
Thank you. I have a motion. Do I have a second? Thank you, Kevin. Motion made by Hans, seconded by Kevin. Any further discussion? Roll call. Mike Metzger votes aye. Hans Howard.
Aye.
Stephen Ford.
Aye.
Kevin Muldowney. Rhonda Johnson.
Aye.
Gary Henry.
Aye.
Ed Walters.
Aye.
Let the record show 7 votes in the affirmative. Motion carried unanimously. Thank you. Stephen, if you could please move new business B3.
Sure. Resolution 05-24-22-04, due diligence resolution and agreement for SL Portland Community Route 2.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Motion made by Stephen, seconded by Brad. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Mike Metzger votes aye. Hans Howard.
Aye.
Stephen Thorpe.
Aye.
Kevin Muldowney. Rhonda Johnson.
Aye.
Gary Henry.
Aye.
Brad Walters.
Aye.
Let the record show 7 votes in the affirmative. Motion carried unanimously.
Thank you, Adam and Nathan. You are more than welcome to stay on if you'd like. Disconnect if your schedule is not allowed.
Thank you very much.
Excuse me, Mike?
Sign up.
And good luck to
Thank
you.
you.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you for all your support.
Now?
Excuse me, Mike? Just one moment. I have a phone number.
New business C. Carol, if you'd like to present.
Mike, excuse me for just one moment. I just need to find out, there's a phone number ending in 4545. Could you let us know who you are?
Yes, that's Peter McCall.
Okay, Peter, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Sorry for the interruption.
Ms. Conley?
Okay, yeah, Peter, your name came up as Lisa, so, we weren't sure who you were. Okay, so I will introduce you. This is Peter McCullough. He's been on, calls with us before. He's the Director of Development for Omni Nevada's, solar out of Boston. The project that we're presenting today is Omni Solar Project for French Creek. A few of the details are the project cost is $3,376,670. Construction, $799,200. There's site work for approximately $216,000. Then, of course, there's machinery and equipment, which are inverters, transformers, poles, and fencing, and engineering costs. There's an equity investment from the company for $1,513,000, and private loans at $2,363,669. Now, Omni French Creek Solar is obviously in French Creek, and I know I need to get the address for you. It's on, it's gonna be about 23 parcels on 102, 23 acres of the property, on 65 acres. The property is located at 10256 Old Grove, French Creek. It's a solar system comprised of Tier 1 modules and a single access tracker setup, equipment pads, and transformers, and of course a gravel road access on the old road. The solar system is producing electricity that will be fed into the grid, directly sold to consumers in the area. And it's sold to consumers in the form of energy credits. A little bit about what his request was. We've had a public hearing in French Creek. The public hearing was on May 16th. There were no issues with that, which I reported to Peter. There was just a question on the angle of the access, or the angle of the solar panel, so during weather and winter weather, the snow would fall off, which was answered and approved. We've had the due diligence resolution at the April board meeting, which prompted the public hearing. Now, the IDA was lead agency for the secret, and today that is one of the resolutions we will approve. We've gone through our 30-day window period, and there were no comments from the involved agencies on the secret. So today, there'll be a deviation hearing for this 25-year pilot. It's 3.33 megawatts. There's a host agreement in place, which is approximately 30%, would be $1,275. Pilot payment of $3,725. So there's construction jobs, a decommission plan in place, and there's an estimated sales tax value for $266,134, and a mortgage tax benefit of $23,296. The property tax savings is $1,627,43. So let's see, you have your cost analysis there. It's 2.1 local ratio, 1.1 state. And I guess I'll open it up to questions right now. We have enough with numbers, but Peter, would you like to talk a little bit more on the project? Just give us a summary.
Yeah,
Thanks.
hopefully everyone can hear me okay. And Carol, thanks
We
for the
can.
introduction. And, a huge help throughout this process. But yeah, so as you mentioned, the project is located in the town of French Creek. The site is pretty well screened, both from a existing vegetation standpoint around the north, east, and south parts of the property, and then the existing grade on the west side from Old Road is screened pretty nicely. We are proposing some additional mitigation along that western side, closest to Old Road, just again to go above and beyond in order to mitigate any visual impact, even though I don't think there will be any. Obviously, there will be a decommissioning plan, pretty standard for these community solar projects. At the end of the project life, the property will be returns to its existing condition, which is currently just a hay field. So the panels obviously will be recycled or will be sent to underdeveloped countries, as they still will be producing electricity. And then, there's a significant or fair amount of steel associated that can be recycled and reused. With the town, we are going for a special use permit. They did hold a public hearing back in February. There was very little comment, so that hearing was closed. And then obviously they have asked the IDA to act as lead agency as far as seeker. But again, I want to thank everyone for support on this project. And we look forward to this project as well as future projects in Chautauqua County. So appreciate it as always.
Thank you, Peter. Does anyone have any further questions?
I have a question. As we've gone through all these, we've talked about they have an expected 25 or 30-year life expectancy, but then, at some point they'll be decommissioned and maybe they'll send the panels someplace else or whatever. Is there a point at which, the efficiency is no longer, do we know what that point is? Like they're 50% efficient, and so then they send them to other countries, or, is it, at what point do we decide they're not worth, keeping in place?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good question. So I think, every year they probably produce, I've seen anywhere between 0.5% to, maybe 0.75% or in some cases 1% less, each year. So, I don't really know. I don't think there's a hard, draw the line after 25 years, once it hits that point, then it's not worth it for, the project to continue on. I still think, after, obviously most of the capital investment is upfront. So, I think that it's probably still a worthwhile asset to keep even after the 25 years. That point, it's up to the property owner. Most of these leases are for kind of the standard 25-year term. They probably have 1 or 2 extensions at the back end. So once the lease is over, in this case, in our project in French Creek, we are leasing the property from the existing property owner. So once that comes to an end, it's really up to the owner as well. If you would like to, renew the lease, you can even, in some cases, the property owner can take over ownership of the project, or if he, would like us to just come in and decommission the project, we would really have no choice but to do so. So I don't know if there's a hard, draw the line in the sand after 25 years or 30 years, but, I think the panels will still be producing, but it'll just be at a lower efficiency.
Thank you.
Peter, I just was curious, I know it's in your application, but could you talk about the construction jobs, how many in the duration, and also the permanent jobs? While it might not be a direct hire of your company, there will be some people required to perform maintenance on this as an ongoing operation.
Sure. So I believe we specified 5 construction jobs. Again, we're absolutely going to look to hire as many jobs as we can. Some are specialized, but we do look. We have kind of general contractors who oversee the build of these projects, but I know that they make the best effort in each county to hire as many local labor and employers as they can. So it's probably, from a timeline perspective, for a project of this size, again, as Carol mentioned, about 23 acres. It's a 3.33 megawatt AC. Weather dependent, I think, best case, it's probably about a 4 or so months build. Maybe, with some delays from the weather or unknown circumstances, that could be, 6 or so months. And then, at the end of construction, as the project is operational, there will be a couple part-time jobs that'll be required for, maintaining the vegetation or weeds that are growing not only in between the rows of panels, but outside along the fence. There will be, hopefully not frequently, but, if a panel goes down or if there's a hailstorm or whatever, we'll need local electricians or people in the area to come out on a moment's notice. So I think that the main part-time job is going to be for that, vegetation need some replacements or fixes that are needed on the technical side as well. That will also contract out locally as well.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions or? Thank you, Peter. Now, Bill, we'll go over the resolutions, please.
Well, first things first, we need to hold the deviation hearing. So I would ask if there's any members, representatives from any of the affected tax jurisdictions who would like to speak on this project and post financial assistance. Hearing none, we close the deviation hearing. And again, we sent notice to all the affected tax jurisdictions telling them when and where this meeting was going to be and of the proposed financial assistance. So there are three resolutions, much in the form that you've seen before. The first one is the deviation resolution, approving the deviation from your UTEP. Your UTEP is not very specific when it comes to solar, and each deal is a little bit different, especially when the developer has a host community agreement. So that often affects the amount of the pilot. As Carol mentioned, the pilot here is 3,725 per megawatt AC, inflating over time at 2% per year. So that's the deviation resolution, approving the deviation from your UTEP. Second is SECRA. As Carol mentioned, the town, in this case, and the others are about to hear about, has asked the IDA to assume lead agency status, indicating their involvement in the process, but they wanted us to do this sort of work of looking at the environmental impact. In your resolution, you will see the list of 17 different items that we have, investigated and come to the conclusion that there should be no significant adverse effect on the environment, and recommending that you adopt the SECRA resolution and the negative declaration. And the last is the final approving resolution, which, if approved, will give the approval to staff and council to document and to close the transaction, affording the financial assistance that Carol has previously described. Those are the three resolutions, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Miller. Any questions of Carol, Miller, or Peter? Hearing none, if Rhonda, if you could please move new business C3, please.
Okay. Resolution 05-24-22-06, deviation resolution for Omni French Creek Solar LLC.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
The motion made by Rhonda, seconded by Hans. Any further discussion? Roll call, please. Mike Metzger votes aye. Hans Sauer.
Aye.
Stephen Thorpe.
Aye.
Elton Muldowney. Rhonda Johnson.
Aye.
Gary Henry.
Aye.
Brad Walters.
Aye.
Let the record show 7 votes in the affirmative. Motion carried unanimously. Gary, if you could please move new business 4.
Resolution 05-24-22-07, SECRA resolution for Omni French Creek Solar LLC.
Thank you. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Motion made by Gary, seconded by Rhonda. Any further discussion? Roll call, please. Mike Metzger votes aye. Hans Sauer.
Aye.
Stephen Thorpe.
Aye.
Evan Muldowney. Rhonda Johnson.
Aye.
Gary Henry.
Aye.
Brad Walters.
Aye.
Let the record show 7 votes in the affirmative. Motion carried unanimously. Brad, if you could please move new business C5.
Resolution 05-24-22-08, final resolution for Omni French Creek Solar LLC.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have motion made by Brad, seconded by Kevin. Any further discussion?
You got it.
I'm sorry, 42 years in manufacturing, I'm hard of hearing.
What?
What'd he say?
Mike Metzger votes aye, Hans Zeller,
Aye.
Stephen Thorpe,
Aye.
Kevin Muldowney, Rhonda Johnson,
Aye.
Gary Henry,
Aye.
Brad Walters.
Aye.
Let the record show, 7 votes in the affirmative, motion carried unanimously. Now I'd like to, Anna Rosie introduce new business D.
Thank you. We had a special committee last Thursday for an application from Venus Planet Restaurant. I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with the restaurants. They're located at 49 Main Street in Venus Planet, New York. The request is for $88,000 in machinery and equipment and $162,000 in working capital, for a total request of $250,000. The, again, purpose of this request is that machinery, equipment, and working capital itself will be used for payroll, inventory, and operations. There are currently 6 full-time employees, 11 part-time, and with the addition of a driver, like she is on funds on the run, there will be 4 more employees hired. Interest rate for this loan would be at 2.44% at 7 years, with the first 6 months at interest only. The applicant, Maury Miller, owner of Venus Planet Restaurant, is also working with M2 Bank for a $250,000 loan that will cover her cost of construction. And she's also injected $200,000 into her own funds into this project. Collateral, we would be second to the bank in a second mortgage. The general use is the filing of furniture, fixtures, and equipment, inventory, and account receivable, as well as a personal guarantee. For this particular loan, we are going to waive life insurance as she did not have any, and it's too cost prohibitive for her to purchase them. As you know, a lot of restaurants had to close during COVID multiple times, resulting in loss of business, loss of revenue. During the closures, though, Ms. Miller found it upon herself to go ahead and start construction on the restaurant, increasing the kitchen size so that she could serve more customers on a daily basis, as well as adding a drive-through and what we call buns on the run, which will also increase the number of customers that she's already started construction. Prior to applying here at the IDA, she did have an SBA loan approved. She was going through the final processes for those funds to cover her costs. But unfortunately, the SBA ran out of funds and her application was over last minute. So that's why she's come to us as well. Again, our working capital will be toward operating expenses as some of her funds will come towards construction and equipment. The loan committee did recommend this for approval with those collateral requirements, again, second to the bank, with mortgage, general uses, and are there any questions? Oh, yes. In the next 2 to 3 years, in Mrs. Miller's business plan, she did identify there's currently an apartment upstairs above the restaurant, which isn't operating, is currently operating, but she would like to make upgrades to turn that into Airbnb. A lot of the costs have been allocated right now to construction with business back on the run. It should be open next month for operations. But her plan is once that is settled, she will then do renovations upstairs and then Airbnb for guests, which will obviously bring in more income.
Any questions or comments? I'll entertain a motion. Hans, if you could please move new business D1.
Resolution 05242205, EDA CARES Act loan approval for Venus Point Inn Restaurant.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion by Hans, seconded by Brad. Any further discussion? Roll call, please. Mike Metzger votes aye. Hans Sauer,
Aye.
Stephen Thorpe,
Aye.
Kevin Muldowney, Rhonda Johnson,
Aye.
Gary Henry,
Aye.
Brad Walters.
Aye.
The record shows 7 votes in the affirmative. Motion carried unanimously. Now we will move to new business E, presented by Christine, please.
I'm presenting today the conference to the project. And as you know, we've received a pilot and tax lease application requesting real property tax, sales tax, and workers' property tax exemption. This is for new construction of a 4.699 megawatt AC solar farm on 28.91 acres leased from ASAM Farms at 10026 Barrel Road in Fredonia, in the town of Concord. The total project cost is estimated at a little over $5.6 million. This project is owned by RIC Development LLC, a company that we've received applications from before and approved projects before. At our April 26, 2022 board meeting, we saw a full presentation by John Rapp, who is the CEO of RIC Development, and also from Idaho Township, who's the director of development. Once again, the town status is that at their April board meeting, the town council approved a special use permit for this project and requested that the CCIDA move forward with the pilot application for consideration. Benefits requested include real property tax abatement for 25 years, sales tax abatement for a period of 18 months, mortgage reporting tax abatement, and as Millen mentioned earlier on one of our previous projects discussed, this should be a deviation from our uniform tax exemption policy. Following the due diligence resolution and agreement that was approved on April 26th, public hearing notices were distributed and posted in accordance with your general municipal law requirements. Public hearing was held on May 17th. No members of the public attended and no written comments were received. Deviation notices were also distributed to the chief executive officer of each affected taxing jurisdiction on May 9th. The deviation hearing will be conducted by Millen today for the representative. Once again, the town of Concord requested the CCIDA act as the agency for secret review. Notices were issued, information was gathered and reviewed, and Millen will present those findings and those recommendations. We also prepared a cost benefit analysis using information provided by the applicant and our software provider. The analysis details projected temporary construction jobs, ongoing jobs, estimated earnings, fiscal impact, culminating in a benefit to cost ratio. Applicant is projecting 0.3 full-time equivalents after the system is operational. And they're also estimating 30 to 40 construction jobs. With all of the information input and calculated for this project, the estimated benefit to cost ratio is 1 to 1. Dollar for dollar, slightly more benefit to the cost of this industry. I now ask Millen to please conduct the deviation hearing and to review the resolutions on the agenda for this project.
I would be happy to. And again, as Christine mentioned, notice was sent to each of the affected tax jurisdictions about the deviation hearing that would be held here and now. So if there are any members of the affected tax jurisdictions or representatives who would like to speak on this project, this financial assistance being contemplated, I'd ask them to make their comments now. Hearing none, let's close the hearing. Mr. Chairman, I'm happy to describe the resolutions if you like, or take questions.
Yes, please.
Okay. Again, there are 3 resolutions. just like we previously done. Deviation resolution is approving the deviation from your UTEP. As you just heard, no members of the affected tax jurisdictions commented at either the public hearing or the deviation hearing that we just held. The second is the secret resolution. And again, the town of Pomfret has asked the IGA to be lead agency. So we conducted the due diligence, looked at an EAF, asked some more questions, had an amendment to the EAF. And as you see in your resolution, there are 17 specific factors that were analyzed. And we have come to the conclusion with the input from staff that there are no significant negative effects on the environment, and therefore recommend that you adopt this resolution and a negative declaration. And the third resolution is the final approving resolution, which if passed by the IDA, authorizes and instructs the staff and council to draft documents and to close the transaction and award the financial assistance.
Thank you, Christine and Miller. Any questions from the board? Hearing none, if Stephen, if you could please move new business E2.
Sure. Resolution 0524-22-09, deviation resolution for Pomfret 2 PV LLC.
Thank you. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. Motion made by Stephen, seconded by Gary, and I have to thank Rosie for being my ears. Any further discussion? Mike Metzger votes aye. Hans Howard?
Aye.
Stephen Thorpe?
Aye.
Kevin Muldowney? Aye. Rhonda Johnson?
Aye.
Gary Henry?
Aye.
Brad Walters?
Aye.
Let the record show 7 votes in the affirmative, motion carried unanimously. Kevin, if you could please move new business E3.
Resolution 0524-22-10, third resolution on the 2 PV LLC.
Thank you. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Hans. Motion made by Kevin, seconded by Hans. Any further discussion? Mike Metzger votes aye. Hans Sauer?
Aye.
Stephen Thorpe?
Aye.
Kevin Muldowney?
Aye.
Rhonda Johnson?
Aye.
Gary Henry?
Aye.
Brad Walters?
Aye.
Let the record show 7 votes in the affirmative, motion carried unanimously. Rhonda, if you could please move new business E4.
Sure. Resolution 05-24-22-11, final resolution for Pomfret 2 PV LLC.
Thank you. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
A motion made by Rhonda, seconded by Stephen. Any further discussion? Mike Metzger votes aye. Hans Sauer?
Aye.
Stephen Thorpe?
Aye.
Kevin Muldowney?
Aye.
Rhonda Johnson?
Aye.
Gary Henry?
Aye.
Brad Walters?
Aye.
Let the record show 7 votes in the affirmative, motion carried unanimously. Oh, Christine, you're up again. New business F, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This resolution is awarding New York Hanover, NY Hanover to LLC, also known as Union Road Solar, are mirroring the ones that we just reviewed for Pomfret to PC. Just to refresh everyone's memory, we received private taxes application for property tax, sales tax, and mortgage reporting tax abatements for a proposed 2.2 megawatt AC community solar farm on 12.82 acres owned by Bell in the town of Hanover for development of an approximately $3.9 million project. This entity is
The developing entity that is owned by NYDRS Info 4 LLC. And we saw a full presentation at our April 26th board meeting by the did not fellow, who's the project developer from Delaware River Solar Development Project. The town had approved an area variance for just setbacks in March and then requested CCIDA proceed for filing tax lien application. And has requested a real property tax abatement for a period of 25 years, sales tax abatement for a period of 18 months, mortgage reporting tax abatement, and also this would be a deviation from our uniform tax exemption policy as the other solar projects were. Following the due diligence resolution and agreement, it was approved on April 26th. Public hearing notices were distributed and posted in accordance with New York General Municipal Law requirements. The hearing was held on May 16th, and no members of the public attended and no written comments were received. Deviation notices were distributed also to the Chief Executive Officer of the affected tax jurisdiction on May 9th, and no one was affected deviation hearing momentarily. And the town Hanover requested CCIDA act as the agency for secret review. Notices were issued, information gathered and reviewed, and then we will also discuss those findings. Cost benefit analysis was prepared using information provided by the applicant and our software provider. Similar to the presentation that I just gave, the jobs estimated for this project are 25 to 27 construction jobs. And this applicant prefers not to indicate any permanent full-time equivalents, although we know that there will be some degree of maintenance on this site. It's just their cost. For this project, the estimated cost benefit ratio is also 1 to 1. This time, I guess Millen to conduct the deviation hearing and also to review or answer any questions related to the proposed resolution.
Happy to. Again, as Christine mentioned, notice of the deviation hearing was sent to each of the affected tax jurisdictions, and we received no written comments or any attendance from any affected tax jurisdictions at the public hearing or so far yet today. So I would ask if there's any members of the affected tax jurisdictions or representatives that would like to speak on the project for the proposed financial assistance, please do so now.
Ellen, I'll note that earlier in the meeting, the district business administrator was at Central School, was on the team meeting. She had subsequently disconnected. Haven't heard from anyone at Silver Creek Central School, to receive any comments in writing or verbally related to the deviation notices, public hearing notices for the project.
Okay, and hearing nothing from any affected tax jurisdictions, I'll close the hearing. And Mr. Chairman, I'm happy to talk about the 3 resolutions if you like.
Yes, please.
Okay, again, the same 3 as we've just dealt with before, deviation resolution, approving the deviation from your UTEP. We've received nothing from any of the affected tax jurisdictions. And in fact, the town of Hanover affirmatively asked the IDA to handle SECRA. That's the second resolution. As it's a type 1, as were all the others, so it was a coordinated review, and we've analyzed with staff and the applicant the 17 factors that are enumerated in the resolution and have come to the conclusion and can recommend to you that there should be no significant adverse effect on the environment, and therefore that you may pass the secret resolution and adopt the negative declaration. And the third is the final resolution, approving and authorizing, instructing staff to document and close the transaction. I guess I'd like to offer one other comment, which that this seems like it's almost cookie cutter at this point, but what I'm not sure that the members can appreciate is that there's an awful lot of staff work that goes into this, so that by the time we come to you, the pilot is all wrapped up, the public hearing has been held, we've talked to the town, we've gone through secret. So it seems very routine and mundane, and that's probably the way it should be, right? If staff and council have done our job, we only bring it to you when all of the ends have been tied up. So those are the three resolutions for your consideration.
Thank you, Nolan, and also thank you for properly recognizing staff for all their hard work and effort to bring these to fruition, and also yourself, all the excellent work that you have done on these very beneficial projects to Chautauqua County. Any questions of Christine or Nolan?
I've got one, it's in general, those, how many of these actually come to fruition?
You know, we've got, Hans just wanted me to get it done, but I've got a spreadsheet with 19 of these. 2 of them have closed. 3 of them have been built. Not a lot of them have been closed though, as far as executing the actual paperwork. We're waiting for NYSERDA, they're waiting for panels. There's a big backlog of panels, Brad. I've read in the journal where they're thinking of putting tariffs on these panels coming from China, which would exorbitantly increase the cost of it. So they want solar energy, everybody wants it here, but they want them to make the panels here, and they don't make the panels here because it's cheaper to make them somewhere else. So there's a lot going on in the supply chain with these too, but I mean, these
20%.
right now, but these companies have spent a lot of money on the landowners either purchasing the land or leasing the land. We see mostly leasing the land, but some purchase the land. So they've got a lot invested in this, and we're pretty sure they're all going to come to fruition. But it's just things slowing them down.
You're confident they're all gonna do it first?
All of them, right? By the time they get to this point, they've spent a fortune. So if they don't
I
do
guess
it.
that's what I was wondering, how far
Yeah.
along are we in the or are they in the process when they get here?
Yeah. Yeah, they're quite a ways down the road. They've done all the environmental, the site work, they've got their permits. The only thing left to do is get the shovel in the ground and go. They've got it's all drawn up, and like I said, they spent a fortune.
And then, Rich, the process for then it closes after it's up, approved, everybody checks off.
Well, once we do this, then Millen will work with the attorney for the company,
Yeah.
sign the documents and execute them, and Mark or I will sign them. We give them their tax exempt letter, then they're ready to go, start buying, purchasing, and getting them. Now, they've ordered some of the panels. A lot of these projects are tax exempt to begin with, Hans, because it's, just like manufacturing equipment is exempt from sales tax. A large portion of these solar projects are exempt too, because they're creating energy, and that's the law. But the concrete, the steel, and everything in the ground is not tax exempt, so they come to us for the sales tax. But yeah, it's the supply chain is affecting them just like it affects everybody else at this point.
There was a delay probably of 6 months or more because there was a bill in Albany that is getting passed to change the method of assessment. And I think a lot of these developers were thinking, well, maybe we don't need the IDA, right, with the legal fees and the IDA fees and everything else, if this new real estate assessment methodology was going to result in lower taxes. And that has not been the case. I think they all realized that what an IDA can do is a longer pilot and more certainty, and probably at a lower cost than paying full taxes, which is what their alternative would be. And when they go pay full taxes, it's a guess every single year. So there's a lot of benefits to coming to the IDA. On top of real estate taxes, we give sales tax and we reporting tax, but there was a long delay while they were wondering what was going to happen in Albany. We've now seen that play out. And now I think the sort of delay is, as Rich said, the price of panels and the supply chain and that kind of thing. So we understand that that's settling down. So I think we're optimistic that over the next few months, they are going to start closing. And as Rich said, we've got a huge backlog of them. But from our perspective, assuming these pass, we're probably close to 20, but the documentation is fairly straightforward and we're ready to close when they are.
From a process standpoint, when do the payments start?
Good question. After it's up and constructed. So
they pay the current tax rate if they acquire the property, not the new.
Exactly. So what the assessor does is has a sort of sub parcel for the solar arrays. So the land and the farm or whatever's there now continues to pay its full taxes. And when the solar array is up and built, then they put that on as a special, now exempt, separate sub-parcel. So the answer is that they pay after it's up and built.
The landowners have been receiving payments from the very beginning.
Right.
So they locked them up and locked them up.
Yeah, and Rich, you and I have talked about what's the delta between the current tax rate and the net, and when you get the pilot payments, so it's significant for
Absolutely.
everyone involved.
Very significant.
And these are only for a long time, but 25 years. So assuming that the panels still have some life after 25 years, and we sort of think that they will, because as one of our guests said, there's some costs, right? So there's no additional cost other than the land payment cost if they're leasing it. And if a panel is 75% effective, let's say, then it's still worth keeping them there. So after 25 years, the IDA pilot burns off and they pay whatever the going rate is, presumably higher.
Thank you.
Discussion, thank you. Any other questions for Christine or no? Hearing none, Brad, if you could please move new business F2.
Resolution 05-24-22-12, deviation resolution from New York Hanover 2 LLC, Angel Road Solar.
Thank you. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made by Brad, seconded by Kevin. Any further discussion?
Seconded by Rhonda.
Roll call, please. Mike Metzger votes aye. Hans Sauer.
Aye.
Stephen Thorpe.
Aye.
Kevin Muldowney. Rhonda Johnson.
Aye.
Gary Henry.
Aye.
Brad Walters.
Aye.
Let the record show 7 votes in the affirmative. Motion carried unanimously. Hans, if you could please move new business F3.
Resolution 5-24-22-13, seeker resolution for New York Hanover 2 LLC.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made by Hans, seconded by Brad.
Steve.
By Steve.
Any further-
Steve.
Steve.
I'm on the other side.
Apologize, seconded by Steve. Any further discussion? Mike Metzger votes aye. Hans Sauer.
Aye.
Stephen Thorpe.
Aye.
Kevin Muldowney. Rhonda Johnson.
Aye.
Gary Henry.
Aye.
Brad Walters.
Aye.
Let the record show 7 votes in the affirmative. Motion carried unanimously. Stephen, if you could please move new business F4.
Resolution 05-25-22-14, final resolution for New York Hanover 2 LLC, Angel Road Solar.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made by Stephen, seconded by Hans. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I think that's a typo. I'd like to fix it. I think it's 05-24-22-14. If that was my typo, I apologize.
Thank you for noticing that.
Wait a minute, isn't that the same resolution number as above, so shouldn't they all be 25?
But today's the 24th.
Today's
as I
Oh, it's the
understand it.
date, oh, duh, okay. Sorry.
The last number.
Yeah, it's the last number, obviously is sequential, but, so I think technically it's 05-24-22-14.
It's,
I apologize, Stephen. We have a motion in a second. Do we, Stephen and Hans, would you, as amended?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'll amend the motion to 05-24-22-14.
Thank
final
you.
resolution.
And it was Gary that seconded Mike.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Gary?
That's fine, I'm still good with it.
Okay. Mike Metzger votes aye. Hans Howard.
Aye.
Stephen Tor.
Aye.
Kevin Muldowney.
Aye.
Rhonda Johnson.
Aye.
Gary Henry.
Aye.
Brad Walters.
Aye.
The director chose 7 votes in the affirmative. Motion carried unanimously. I have to apologize to Rhonda. I told her we never go over 12 resolutions. We're now at 14, so sorry about that.
Package these
And
resolutions.
thank you all for putting up with my
We're almost
errant
done.
loss. Now I'd like to, who's going to introduce? Mark, if you could please introduce new business chief.
Yeah, so this is a resolution approving entry by the IDA into various grant agreements with Chautauqua County. The county desires to contract with the IDA to carry out and manage a number of projects, some of which we've been doing for many years and some new ones. So I'm just going to very briefly talk through what those are. So Chautauqua County shall provide a sum of $161,107 for business development assistance and promotion. This is an annual allocation that the IDA receives from the county. It's for things like listing sites, promoting the IDA in the county, providing information and technical assistance, working with the SBDC, and a number of other things. So that's the 161. Chautauqua County shall provide a sum of $68,000 for tours of business and destination development and promotion. This is an annual allocation we've been getting for several years. It's from the county's 3% occupancy tax budget. And this is to promote and work with tourism and hospitality related businesses to locate here in Chautauqua County. The third one is Chautauqua County shall provide a sum of $400,000 in American Rescue Plan Act funding to implement the Chautauqua Business Assistance Program. The IDA is working with the Small Business Development Center at JCC, the Chautauqua County Chamber of Commerce, Insight, and Invest Buffalo Niagara. We're providing grants for businesses to upgrade their marketing presence. And we've done a lot of, we've got an online application, promoting it. And this, again, is coming out of, this is one of the 43 projects that was approved by the legislature from the American Rescue Plan Act, $24.6 million that the county received. Chautauqua County shall provide a sum of $2.5 million, again, in American Rescue Plan Act funding, to implement broadband projects. This, this is a project that is looking to expand broadband to the unserved and underserved populations. We're at the tip of the iceberg on this. We're going to be contracting with a consultant to help us with this because it's really not our skill set per se. And we're going to figure out how to roll this out, what makes the most sense, how we can leverage this funding, especially when it comes to the infrastructure bill monies. So we will be working with the county on that as well. And then last but not least, the Chautauqua County shall provide a sum of $1,830,000 in an amended and restated agreement with funding from both the county's capital project budget and the ARPA funding award to develop a new North County industrial park. So again, there was $1.4 million that was approved from an ARPA and about $433,000 that was approved over the course of a couple of years from the county's capital projects funding, again, to create a North County Industrial Park. And we've been working diligently with Clark Patterson Lee and others to do kind of a systematic approach to identifying prime sites, evaluating those sites, working with the property owners to acquire. As we all know, we're almost out of land. A very small parcel up in the Chadwick Bay Industrial Park, and about 30 or so acres of usable land in Mason Industrial Park is all we have left. So we really need to get up to speed here and purchase land and get it shovel ready. So that's the gist of it. I don't know if anyone has any questions.
I don't want to sway the board in any way, but how can you turn down $5 million from the county?
Yeah.
It's incredible. And these projects are going to be transformative for this county. Very strategic and well done, Mark. And your team.
Yeah.
And staff. Any questions for Mark?
Mark, no capacity issues for your team, right? I mean, you guys can cover all this without any problem.
Yeah, we can. Of course, we're all working hard, and it certainly does expand our efforts. But no, we can handle it, and we've already been working on some of these things, like I talked about the site selection process. That's been underway for a couple of years already. So we've got a whole lot of work that's behind this that's already been done in terms of getting ready for this. So yeah, we can handle it.
Thank you.
Good question.
I'll
Any
just,
other questions?
I'll just add that hiring Crystal has really helped, especially with some of these newer projects. She's working with Mark and Nate directly, so that she helps pick up.
Yeah, so we hired Crystal Earhart. She's working on kind of the finance side of things and is a stickler for the contracts and making sure everything's in place, that we're following through and all that. So that's been a real help. Thank you for bringing that up.
Any other questions or comments? Kevin, if you could please move new business G1.
05-24-22-15, resolution of the member of the Chicago County Industrial Development Agency approving entry into various grant agreements with Chicago.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion made by Kevin, second made by Rhonda. Any further discussion? Mike Metzger votes aye. Hans Zeller.
Aye.
Stephen Thorpe.
Aye.
Kevin Muldowney.
Aye.
Rhonda Johnson.
Aye.
Gary Henry.
Aye.
Greg Walters.
Aye.
Let the record show 7 votes in the affirmative, motion carried unanimously. And Rich, if you could please introduce new business H.
H, the IDA CRC agreement resolution presented by me. It's resolution 05-24-22-16. So this stemmed out of a review by the Controller's Office of our 2020 CRC Paris report. And we had been informally, the IDA had been recognizing all the revenue and expense from the Capital Resource Corporation. As you remember, the Capital Resource Corporation was formed because the Civic Facilities Law sunsetted, which allowed us to do tax-exempt bonds for not-for-profits. The workaround was to create the CRC. So the Controller's Office said that was fine, but they thought we should have a formal document in place. So that's George Craig did this. I know George spoke to the Governance Committee back in December when I was out with my knee. I didn't think it would be necessary for George to come today and explain all 13 pages. So we had a governance committee meeting before the board meeting. We reviewed the document and it was unanimously adopted. So it's more of just a housekeeping item than anything.
All right, thank you, Rich. Any questions for Rich? All right, hearing none, Rhonda, if you could please move new business H1.
Sure. Resolution 05-24-22-16 IDA CRC Agreement Resolution.
Thank you. I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made by Rhonda, seconded by Gary. Any further discussion? Mike Metzger votes aye. Hans Sauer,
Aye.
Stephen Thorpe,
Aye.
Kevin Muldowney, Rhonda Johnson,
Aye.
Gary Henry,
Aye.
Brad Walters.
Aye.
Let the record show, 7 votes in the affirmative, motion carried unanimously. Thank you, and thank you all for going through all these resolutions and for the incredible work of the staff and Miller on all these projects. Let's now move to the executive director's report. Mark, please.
Yeah, I have nothing pressing, so I'm gonna reserve my updates for the next meeting, unless anyone has any.
Thank you, Mark, giving you for time. That's great. Let's hope, in the interest of time, and let's hope that the treasurer's report by Rich can be as concise.
Not likely.
Well, you have in front of us, Mike, I just want to say we are in good shape. I know this is tough to see. We will be distributing these to everyone on paper now. The Zoom meeting is not the place to look at these when you're at a distance. But we are in good shape. We've added a few funds here for the North County Industrial Park that Mark talked about, and also some ARPA money for some other things. And I want to commend Nate, Crystal, Mark, and getting this money. And I really want to say what a great job Kayla has done tracking this. This is not easy stuff. You can just see all these grants we have, and then there's grants from this foundation, that foundation, this. And Kayla's done an exceptional job working with Nate and Crystal to keep track of all this. And so we're doing all that. But we are in good shape. I will just point out that our administrative fees are way behind, but that's going to catch up real quick. We closed one this month that'll substantially increase that. And as you saw with our solar projects, once they start to close, some of those projects, our fees are over $100,000. So once they close, we're going to be fine. So we are in good shape, Mike. And again, I just want to thank the board for all the support for me over the years. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Rich, and again, a well-deserved award. And we couldn't be happier to have the best treasurer we've ever seen. So, thank you. Any questions of Rich? Okay, since there were no financials distributed, we won't be accepting the report. Is there a need for an executive session? All right, I would accept a motion to move into executive session for discussion of particular loans and or personnel matters or
Recording stopped.
do I have a motion? Kevin made the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Stephen. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? We're in executive session.
So I really wanted to talk about